Mic check, Curtis Sherrod.
Let me love you in the moonlight. Let me hold you. Gonna make
So
it
comforting.
all right.
That's just a comforting voice.
You know why I did that?
Why?
Who was that? Who sang that, D Nasty? Force
I was
MDs.
about to say, it
yeah.
sounded like
and
Force
where they
MDs.
from?
Staten Island,
Who?
baby.
Now, Wu-Tang. A lot of times when you go to party, they go, where Brooklyn at? People go crazy. Where the Bronx at? People go crazy. Where's Manhattan? Where's Harlem at? People go crazy. Where's Queens at? People go crazy. Where's Staten Island?
Staten Island's in the building right now,
It's
baby.
crickets.
But not today.
Not today.
Not today. It is my pleasure to bring you a gentleman who is on the rise when it comes to the multimedia world. He's stepping bigly, taken from our number 45.
God.
Really?
He's stepping
Did you really
bigly.
say
Yeah,
that?
that's
Very bigly.
that's very
He's a very good
kofefe.
author. He's my favorite. But anyhow, he's an author. He's a DJ. He's a photographer. He's a Renaissance man, and he's here with the OnPoint family. Can I get a round of applause from the man all the way from the place where the ferries ride, Darryl Bishop, Mr. Ferrazano Bridge himself.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
So I want to start like this. When I first met you, it was through this phenomenon that we have called DJ Con, and you are a DJ Con veteran. You've been to multiple ones, and you made history last time when you got to follow the illustrious DJ Hollywood.
Yeah, that went over real good on my Instagram page.
I know it
I'm sure it
did.
did.
They was like, yo, you balling like that? You rocking with Hollywood?
Yeah, which is funny because usually when I post my videos, like 5 people watch. I put DJ Hollywood like 300 views. I'm like, so it was actually pretty nice. It was nice to be behind a veteran and someone that I kind of, that I don't know personally, but in the history of this game, is someone that's kind of this blazed a trail for a lot of DJs and was the originator of like the MC style and people actually getting people to rock in the party. So it was an honor to so I thank you for just letting me rock behind him.
Which is a lot of pressure because he put it down.
Yeah,
I ain't going front.
I was
So
nervous.
did he do good after?
Yeah, he did his thing. He
So
actually
now
was
we
like,
gotta watch his IG page. now.
yeah, because he was like, yo, Kurt, let Hollywood know if he wants. I could do something with him right now. I got this idea, I was like, easy, all right, easy. But we got you here because we're having an author's special. We decided to get together and do something to feature people when it comes to the literary word who have skills to putting them words on page. And I'm looking on the table here, the mesa, as they say, from some of my Latino brothers and sisters, and we got multiple books here. You are prolific.
Yes.
Can you talk to me, about what made you decide to become an author, and how's it going, and what's your favorite book thus far?
I don't see my book.
Oh, Lady and the Legends right here.
No, the other one.
Which one? Undersea.
The New York Undercover.
Oh, that one. That's a preview. That's coming out soon.
Oh.
But I actually started writing back in 2011. The funny thing about it is I didn't have a dream to be a writer. My mom is an author, and she published 2 books before she passed away from cancer.
Sorry to hear that, brother.
Thank you. I actually started writing as a means to address and deal with my issues with depression. So in a way, writing kind of, I wouldn't say it saved my life, but it distracted me from, it kept me off the edge. And for people who struggle with depression and anxiety, it's a way of, looking inside yourself and projecting your pain. And it's the same thing like comedy, because I do comedy as well. And there's a saying that comedians, a comedian is a person that lives on the edge and lives in a different world, and we project our pain on stage so that you could look into our life and laugh at our pain with us rather than just kind of being taken advantage of. To the other question was my favorite book. Actually, my favorite book right now is the Lady on the Ledge series, but I've really had a lot of fun writing the Checkmate series. That was the first story I put on Facebook when I started writing, and that had garnered me a pretty good following. And I had no intention of really publishing any of these books. So what happened is I had moved to Boston for a couple of years, and one of my fans took a book and submitted it to someone, and I got a call from a publisher, and they asked me to submit another book. So I submitted From the Ashes, and within 5 hours after that, I had a contract to write for 5 years. So.
Sometimes it happens just that way, man.
Your writing is just like very descriptive. I felt like I was right there. There was a part, you were nice enough to share a couple of previews. So like when Chandler Manor like banged on the mahogany table, I was like, don't bang on that table. I just felt like it was felt like I was there. And that type of writing it takes a while to do. I'm not saying I'm impressed that you could write, but to throw out all these different types of literary? I mean, they all seem the same type of style, would you say?
Yeah, it's well, I call my writing truth in a fictionalized world.
Right.
That's how I describe it. So basically for the reader, it's when I write a story, I write from the middle out. I don't. There really is no beginning point, and I drop the reader in the middle of the story, and I kind of let you navigate. But I leave breadcrumbs along the way so that people who actually will go back, and I've actually had somebody write me and say, "Oh, I had no idea that this was actually a preview to another book."
Yeah.
And so and with the Lady in the Ledge series that you read, the one that you're talking about is actually Heir to an Empire. That's the part where I think was Cecil was talking to his son Benjamin,
right,
about his affair with Clarissa. So, and I don't want to give out.
Oh yeah, Clarissa. Yeah.
Clarissa.
The Help.
Yeah, but the ironic thing about my stories is a lot of them have a lot of history behind them. For example, From the Ashes, I wrote that when I was in Boston, and that's actually based on an urban legend in Taunton, Massachusetts. There's this cemetery called Plymouth Hill Cemetery, and there's a little girl who was buried there. Her name is Ida French. And her friend Emily, they actually died from, I think it was tuberculosis, but the whole history of the story is it happened in a fire. So when my fiance at the time told me about it, I just, my brain was like, oh, well, I could switch this story around, and that's where this came about. So this was actually one of the first stories that really kind of got me noticed. As far as being an author, a lot of people are like, oh,
that's interesting because you don't like horror.
I can't stand horror movies. I'm the world's biggest kitty cat.
I was sitting there like, oh my goodness, this sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, I believe if I could scare myself senseless, then and that's obviously a good book. Like, I went to, this is a funny story, when my fiance took me to see Lady in the Legend when they came. The Woman in Black, and I couldn't even sleep. I was like, you sleep next to the door because the ghost stories. they always come out of the closet. So I'm like, they're gonna kill anybody. They're gonna kill you and the kids first. I get a chance.
Yeah, good looking out, Flavor. Good looking out.
Self-preservation at its best.
I guess so.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I just have a question because I picked up your book and I see that you're not using the
traditional fonts,
and also you are writing and also do like the
Playwright.
conversation. It's an actual play. So how did you make those decisions?
Well, my original writing style was in the script form, because when I've read certain books and being a reader, I like Stephen King, I like,
Right.
Tom Clancy. And one of the things that, and maybe it's just me, but sometimes as a reader, it's hard to pick up on who is saying what if there's no real cue points as to, well, this person's saying that. So when I first started, my original idea was, okay, well, it's going to be easier for the reader to follow if they, if I'm saying, well, Benjamin's talking or this person is talking. And then as time went on, I kind of, I was able to kind of just tweak it a little bit and know when to put in certain points. And with my writing being very descriptive, I was able to just use the natural environment I created and say, okay, well, then you could follow it along the way. So I think it was a gradual process where it wasn't just, I'm throwing everybody in the middle of the mix. I literally changed it around. And as far as the scripts go, every story has a certain feel.
Right.
So when I write certain stories, for example, with When September Ends, that story is actually, it's kind of like my, I guess, trials and tribulations with in relationships, and it identifies the main character, whose name is Alan, and his issues, stemming from his abandonment issues with his parents, and he basically is, in a way, there's a chapter called Sins of the Father, where he's having this conversation with his father, and that was my fictional conversation with my own father.
Wow.
That was asking, well, why did you leave me? Why did you abandon me? And it was because of the stuff that you and my mother did is why I have so many issues with relationships and why I'm never successful. So it's, it's kind of like, that was my way of healing myself, even though I still deal with certain issues, but it was, for someone else to kind of understand that maybe it's not always your fault, that sometimes the situations we are placed into and the environment that we came from will dictate why our relationships go so wrong.
You're definitely right. You hit the core with that one. I agree with you. Writing is definitely therapeutic, right? One of the stories that I loved in your book was New York Undercover. What kind of gave you that mindset? Because that's a totally different book from Lady on the Ledge. So what made you move into that storyline? I've
always been a really big fan of law enforcement. NYPD. I'm probably like the biggest supporter of the NYPD. I understand that they are wayward cops, and this is not. My book is not like putting them in a hero light, but it's kind of like, if you remember the old TV show New York Undercover. Right. There was never really a story that was focused on Staten Island. It was always focused on in Manhattan or the outer boroughs.
Right.
So my goal with this book is to actually kind of bring Staten Island to life. And if you read the preview, so you realize that I kind of focused it initially on the ferry, and the explosion, and then what took place before. So that to me was kind of like
we didn't know there was an explosion. Is there an explosion?
Yeah, it's actually.
Okay. We just.
Boom! Disregard
I
that.
guess right. We're like, we didn't know what happened. We were like, I guess we got to find
Got
out.
it now.
But New York Undercover, I had a lot of fun writing that book, and I'm still having fun with it because, I write like 4 or 5 books at a time. So I'm actually working on like 4 books right now.
And your mind, so your mind is just.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's kind of like when you have anxiety, you
sure.
Yeah.
So now sometimes you just got to write it out too.
Yeah.
When you started writing New York Undercover, you picked Staten Island, of course, right?
Yes.
Did you pick a community in Staten Island, like West Brighton, or any place that was like? Because the book was, from what I read so far, was really grit. Like you really was able to tune into the urban community. So did you pick a certain community within Staten Island to kind of do your backdrop, so to speak?
And that's really a good question, because I've had this asked me before, especially when it comes to the characters in the book, because everyone asks, well, are these characters black? Are they white?
Right.
And I tell people my characters are androgynous, as far as you can put the character into any lifestyle or color that will suit your imagination. But at the end of the day, it's being able to identify with the person that I'm writing about. With New York Undercover, that was initially going to be focused on the New Brighton, West Brighton area and work its way out. But then I figured if I start from St. George, and I leave it where it's like I will just give you certain like locations, and then you could pretty much pick and choose where you want to be in that place, because St. George is a very big location.
Yeah.
It was West Brighton. The funny thing about this though is Behind the Shield was written was literally a story in Staten Island, but I named it Newton Falls.
Okay.
But if you look at some of the places like Broad Street, and there's actually a location by the library over there by Broad Street, that's where a lot of action takes place. So most of my writing is based around the New York area, but I just give it fictional locations. But that's why I say it's truth in a fictionalized world. Gotcha. At the end of the day, when you read it, you could picture in your mind, oh, I know this place. So
well, you know what, Darryl? I see you be playing 3-dimensional chess. To be able to write multiple books at the same time, you're operating on many platforms. We're going to test that right now, right here on the spot, by allowing you to say the title of a book. Right? When I give you the cue, you just say the title of a book. Then I cue you, you go to the next book. Then I cue you, you go to the next book. Okay? We're going to have someone paint pictures about your book very quickly. We're going to have your co-DJ Con veteran, Queen Dream, play a beat.
Who killed it, by the way, on DJ Con?
Yeah, she did. She was all humble with it, but she
was all like
the outfit, right? The outfit, right? Now let me stop.
The skills was definitely on point. Had me nervous.
We're not going to let you get down this time. We're going to let D Nasty do it.
You sure?
Oh, actually, if I could just say something before you get started. One of the things I want the listeners to listen to, and the readers, of course, is there's certain songs that dictate the flow of a book. And I've always believed that music paints a picture better than the words ever can. So with Lady on the Ledge, I don't know if you guys know who Sarah McLachlan is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but if you listen to the song "Fallen," that is actually Clarissa's theme song, because it shows a character that's so flawed and has made so many mistakes as far as her choices in life that she feels that she could no longer, carry on her decisions.
I recommend one of your books you do a mixtape to go with the book. Do it with Queen Dream. We'll push it. We'll market it. But with that being said, we're going to start with this book here. What's the top? Wait, play the beat. We got a nice beat. Say the title.
Lady on the Ledge. Definitely Lady on the Ledge. That's
one more time.
Lady on the Ledge, baby. Clarissa.
We're going to start with Lady on the Ledge.
Yeah.
So it's the Lady on the Ledge. Yeah, she's too close, don't push her to the edge. In other words, we not trying to fall, we trying to make it to the top. Understand that we making it hot. So if she's on the ledge, don't push her over, because underneath the ground is a whole nother town. She wanna rise up, never fall down to the pit, cause when I float, you know that I'm keeping it
the
legit.
Nation.
The nation, you already know what I'm saying. I'm doing this for my vocation, I'm not on vacation. I come through with a style and a net worth like PlayStations.
The Interview.
The interviewer with the nastiest coming back. Other rappers get skewered. You got questions and I got answers. You got music, then we got dancers.
When September ends.
So when September ends, we bring in October. It's the fall like all of them. I bring falls to all of them. Listen, I could come back and put them in a coffin and then chop them up and leave them in the portions, man.
Yeah, that was D Nasty. In the place to be.
Nice.
So I had a couple of questions regarding your life, right? So you certainly accomplished writer, and you said you also are DJ as well as a comedian
And photographer.
And photographer. I mean, it seems like you shared that you also had a couple of issues that probably would have helped you address or to vent the concerns in your life. Have you been able to share your story to help other people, or is this your way of showing just what you do?
I'm a very big advocate for mental health awareness. That's one of the things that I push a lot on my Instagram pages, and I talk openly about my struggles. Sometimes, especially being a black man, we have in the community we're raised in, we're always taught to keep things in and to bottle up and to man up. And it's difficult when you try to reach out for help and you feel sometimes that there really is no way to get help, or that you feel ashamed. And pride sometimes in the black community is the biggest cause of suicide for black men. That's just my belief. It could be different things.
Well, you know what? We're going to do how we did an author show. I'm definitely going to put together a mental health show. I got some doctors lined up and some mental health professionals. I would love maybe you could be supportive.
Oh, definitely. I would love to be
and at Accord. And I want folks to know if they want to find out more about how to reach you in regards to your books or regards to your activities, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. I actually have 3 Instagram pages. So the main page, which is my DJ page and my author page, is at d.j.flavaz, Flavaz, at Instagram. I also have an analytical page called Analytical Knowledge. And my photography page is at 50 Flavors Imaging, which is also part of my clothing line brand as well. So just before I leave, I actually signed this book for you guys. So this is for the station.
We have some more time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
A little bit more time.
I haven't done radio in years.
Like
I'm
right, we got a little bit.
Oh, cool.
We end at 5:30. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. I know you have other guests. I didn't want to hog.
We got a little more time.
But one of the things I actually want to say first is I want to thank Curtis for because when we met at DJ Con, I was very, very apprehensive because being in this industry, especially as a DJ, there's a lot of negative feedback from other DJs, and it's not always a supportive environment. Same thing for
that's
as
life,
a comedian.
brother. That's life.
Yeah, but sometimes it could actually it dissuade you from pursuing your dreams when you try to reach out and you try to be a community person, and then other people are kind of judging you based on you not being part of the clique. And so I want to thank you, Curtis, for actually being very supportive and reaching out and always keeping in contact and keeping me in mind on certain projects. So that's one of the reasons why I've been I was so excited to come here today and so nervous, because it's kind of like, in a way, I respect and I try to emulate what you do, because as a community activist, you are very, very, you have a positive influence. And I've seen it at the last DJ Con. The people just, you just have this personality and this aura. People just, they come around you and they want to be part of what you're putting out. So,
he's our son.
Kudos to you on that one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And you're only as good as the people you attract.
Right.
I'm just a mirror, and you just see me and you.
That's right.
And I believe in doing functions that is fellowship, never a battle. We're not battling.
Exactly.
We're together trying to raise the culture. And so this is your opportunity to let the people know, though, right? If you have a party coming up, if you got a mixtape coming out, if you got a new book, this is your time.
Stand up.
Yeah,
Okay.
let us know what's cracking, yo.
I don't know. Is he really funny?
I know. He can't be as funny as Will.
You can actually check out I'm actually on YouTube. I'm not on the grounds of most amateur comedians. I think I'm funny and I have a pretty decent following, but there's always going to be that issue of, somebody's going to be funny. My jokes are more based on life, and sometimes the crowd that I play to are millennials, so it's hard to kind of give a joke about the 70s and the 80s, but most of these kids don't really understand it. But as far as books are coming up, I'm actually working on a book called Motion, and it's another ghost story. And the idea behind the book is, now you guys know about motion sensors, right?
Yeah.
So the story behind this is,
I know.
Who just walked by?
yeah, well, that's exactly it. No, the idea behind it is for every time the light goes on and off, maybe it's not the wind, maybe it's not a person, maybe it signals something or someone entering our dimension
paranormal
or leaving
stuff.
our dimension.
Oh wow!
I'm glad you writing, brother, because you starting to spook me. You keep writing.
But I always think that's part of conspiracies that people learn about and they just write about it. That's scary.
I have another book coming out. New York Undercover is coming out as well.
Good.
I also have a book, the backstory to From the Ashes. That's called. I forgot the name of it because I'm writing so many different books. But the main two are coming out. I literally within the last year, I think I put out 8 books, and I think I did 6 in the last 2 months. Since 2012, I put
That's
out
a lot.
13 to 14 books.
That's awesome.
So I've been pretty busy
Congratulations.
writing. Thank
That
you
should
very much.
motivate you for your blogs.
I'm actually trying to get into something.
Motivating.
I wouldn't know how to do
Will
it.
is. I can help you with that. Right. Will is also an accomplished author as well on our
Nice.
team, and so he's. So how does that work? Just before we close, you're able to spit out all these books. How does it work in the business aspect of it?
I do my own marketing, and when I was signed back in 2012, it was a good venture, but financially I really wasn't, I wasn't making anything, and I didn't put these books out for the money aspect. I do it because it's inside of me, and it's
Right.
it's a story
Sure.
I'm willing to tell. But when I became an independent publisher and I started publishing on Amazon, they gave me a lot more freedom. And actually, most of the artwork from this book, from the Nation and Lady on the Ledge, they're all from my photos. And this book, From the Ashes, the artist is actually I think a 17-year-old girl named Jennifer Centeno, and she's
shout
an
out to Jennifer.
awesome. You gotta check out her page on Instagram. She's great. Her mother and I are really good friends, and she did the artwork and beyond my expectations. So I'm just very happy with that one. But like I said, you guys have this book. I appreciate everyone that's taking the time to read the previews. You could leave your comments.
We're all fans now.
Thanh you very, very much. I really appreciate it.
We're all fans. So
Darryl,
That's a quick question.
Sure.
Have you ever thought of making like a visual component, like with your books? Like you have a format in which it's like a play, so to speak.
I'm
Like-
actually working with a production company in Staten Island that they, a couple of years ago, I was talking with HBO and Showtime because they read my books and they liked the story behind it. But it never took off. And then NBC read it and they were looking at something for probably one of their shows on Law and Order SVU. But they have so many stories that it kind of just fell to the wayside. So I really didn't push the issue. But there's a local production company in Staten Island by my friend Tamika Jones, and they read the books and they're looking into try to make it into like a short movie.
we should call
thing
our
for-
rodent friends.
and do it on YouTube. But I've toyed with the idea of putting out pictures to go with the books, but it's one of those things where I really don't know what avenue to go to. But my next book, and this is actually going to be thanks to Curtis, is going to be about the world of the DJ world actually, and how it's changed from when I first started to with the advent of the technology and the pros, the cons, and everything else in between that. So.
Yeah, well, if you don't know, we're letting you know. You've been listening to, vibing to the author, the photographer, the DJ, disc jockey, the comedian. He goes by the name of Darryl Bishop. We want you guys to support him. Also, I want you to commend you about making to light the fact that these books are therapeutic, and that as people, we all go through things, and we have to come up with productive, positive ways to channel our demons. And it seems like you've been successful at making that happen. So
I'm
salute.
still struggling, but it's a process.
Salute to you. Salute.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for being a friend to the show, and we look forward to having you on again when we do our mental health issue.
Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're gonna close out with the birthday girl, the girl they
Definitely.
call Queen Dream, who was somewhere because she got a little more mochainess
Happy
going
birthday,
on
by
with
the
her.
I just went to work. That's it.
We'll be right back, everybody. Take us out, Queen.
On point radio.